The Taliban's military blitz in Afghanistan, which saw the terrorist group capture control of the whole country in a matter of weeks, highlighted how wealthy the group had become since the overthrow of its administration in 2001. In the regions they controlled for the past 2 decades, the insurgents have maintained a state-like economy. They raised money through a variety of methods, including drug trafficking and other illegal operations, extortion and taxes, charitable gifts, and overseas aid. According to Tom Keatinge, director of the Center for Financial Crime and Security Studies at the Royal United Services Institute in London, the Taliban operates a classic territory-controlling financial model. In other words, it earns the majority of its funds from the people and businesses in areas that it controls. In the fiscal year that ended in March 2020, the Taliban reportedly brought in $1.6 billion, according to Mullah Yaqub, son of the late Taliban spiritual leader Mullah Muhammad Omar, who revealed the Taliban's income sources in a confidential report commissioned by NATO and later obtained by Radio Free Europe/Radio Liberty. In comparison, the Afghan government brought in $5.55 billion during the same period. The most important question that many are asking is who funds the Taliban. It remains almost impossible to project precisely how much the Taliban raise every year. However, according to a recent UN report, the group managed to collect from £220 million to £1.17 billion every year. Here's where their money comes from. The main source of revenue of the Taliban still depends on drugs. Afghanistan accounted for approximately 84% of global opium production over the 5 years ending in 2020, according to the United Nations World Drug Report 2020. The Taliban, who manage opium in regions under their control, receive a large portion of the illicit narcotics revenues. According to a 2008 report from the Afghanistan Research and Evaluation Unit, an independent research body in Kabul, the group charges a 10% tax on every link in the drug production chain. That includes the Afghan farmers who cultivate poppy, the main ingredient in opium, the labs that convert it into a drug and the traders who move the final product out of country. Mining industry is second source of revenue for the Taliban, which generate $400 million to $464 million. Mining iron ore, marble, copper, gold, zinc and other metals and rare earth minerals in mountainous Afghanistan is an increasingly lucrative business for the Taliban. Both small-scale mineral extraction operations and big Afghan mining companies pay Taliban militants to allow them to keep their businesses running. Those who don't pay have faced death threats. According to the Taliban's Stones and Mines Commission, or Tadaburo Commission, the group earns $400 million a year from mining. NATO estimates that figure higher, at $464 million, up from just $35 million in 2016. Another source of revenue for the Taliban is through extortion and taxes they generate over from that $160 million. Like a government, the Taliban tax people and industries in the growing swath of Afghanistan under their control. They even issue official receipts of tax payment. Taxed industries include mining operations, media, telecommunications and development projects funded by international aid. Drivers are also charged for using highways in Taliban-controlled regions, and shopkeepers pay the Taliban for the right to do business. The group also imposes a traditional Islamic form of taxation called ushr, which is a 10% tax on a farmer's harvest, and zakat, a 2.5% wealth tax. According to Mullah Yaqub, tax revenues, which may also be considered extortion, bring in around $160 million annually. Since some of those taxed are poppy growers, there could be some financial overlap between tax revenue and drug revenue. Another important source of revenue for the Taliban is through charitable donations. The Taliban receive covert financial contributions from private donors and international institutions across the globe. Many Taliban donations are from charities and private trusts located in Persian Gulf countries, a region historically sympathetic to the group's religious insurgency. Those donations add up to about $150 million to $200 million each year, according to the Afghanistan Center for Research and Policy Studies. These charities are on the U.S. Treasury Department's list of groups that finance terrorism. Private citizens from Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Iran and some Persian Gulf nations also help finance the Taliban, contributing another $60 million annually to the Taliban-affiliated Keatinge network, according to American counterterrorism agencies. The Taliban also generate revenues from exports of goods. In part to launder illicit money, the The Taliban import and export various everyday consumer goods, according to the United Nations Security Council. Known business affiliates include the multinational Nurzai Brothers Limited, which imports auto parts and sells reassembled vehicles and spare automobile parts. The Taliban's net income from exports is thought to be around $240 million a year. This figure includes the export of poppy and looted minerals, so there may be financial overlap with drug revenue and mining revenue. The Taliban's also generate revenue from real estate management. The Taliban own real estate in Afghanistan, Pakistan and potentially other countries, according to Mullah Yaqub and the Pakistani TV channel Sama. Yaqub told NATO annual real estate revenue is around $80 million. Some specific country are also a source of revenue for the Taliban's. According to BBC reporting, a classified CIA report estimated in 2008 that the Taliban had received $106 million from foreign sources, in particular from the Gulf states. Today, the governments of Russia, Iran, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are all believed to bankroll the Taliban, according to numerous U.S. and international sources. Experts say these funds could amount to as much as $500 million a year, but it is difficult to put an exact figure on this income stream. The question now is who funds the Afghan government? For nearly 20 years, the Taliban's great wealth has financed mayhem, destruction and death in Afghanistan. To battle its insurgency, the Afghan government also spends heavily on war, often at the expense of basic public services and economic development. A peace agreement in Afghanistan would allow the government to redirect its scarce resources. The government might also see substantial new revenue flow in from legal sectors now dominated by the Taliban, such as mining. Stability is additionally expected to attract foreign investment in the country, helping the government end its dependence on donors like the United States and the European Union. There are many reasons to root for peace in war-scarred Afghanistan. Its financial health is one of them. But after their stunning takeover of Kabul last weekend, the Taliban now face the precarious situation of dealing with the crumbling Afghan economy, which was kept on life support by foreign aid. The World Bank has confirmed that foreign powers cover almost 75% of the Afghan government spending by sending nearly £3 billion to Kabul every year. Despite the shambolic economic situation, the Taliban's control over the whole country would likely boost their coffers and provide greater financial autonomy from their foreign patrons. Any organization like the Taliban will want to limit its financial vulnerability, so it will maximize the extent to which it can fund its activities from resources within its control. However, it will be worth watching which foreign governments are sympathetic towards them, recognize their legitimacy and, potentially, develop trade or other economic ties with the new regime. International legitimacy seems to have become the ultimate goal for any future Taliban government. In addition to allowing Taliban officials to participate in international meetings with world leaders, it would guarantee the flow of international aid, which is essential to prop up their rule. The group's commanders have been out of government for 20 years and many of them may have lost touch with governing the daily life of a nation in despair. The new reality will require additional funds as the group seeks to win the hearts and minds of the highly skeptical Afghans. There is a potential risk for the Taliban, however, which is that they are no longer opposing the national government, they are, in effect, the national government, and thus this requires them to fund and maintain many of the services the previous government provided. This is the ultimate test facing the Western powers who have taken part in ousting the previous Taliban regime. In the U.S., for example, about $7 billion of the Afghan central bank's $9 billion in foreign reserves are still being held by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, according to the former acting governor of the Afghan Central Bank. The Biden administration has already vowed to block access to these funds. The International Monetary Fund also said it would withhold more than $400 million, previously scheduled to be sent to Afghanistan. In all of this, those that will suffer will be those that have relied on international humanitarian funds. This could be the lasting legacy of the collapse of the Afghan government in the past week. The international community is now in a bind. They must not recognize or legitimize the Taliban militia and continue to find ways to cut off their clandestine funding streams as that can contribute to funding terrorism, Goel told The Independent. There is also a need to continue to enable UN organizations and NGOs to work at a grassroots level to ensure humanitarian support is sustained in Afghanistan. The people of Afghanistan must not fall victim to the mercy of the Taliban. Do you think the Taliban will be able to run sustainable economy without foreign aids?